Hey,
Hey,
Fire!
firebirds.
Welcome back to another episode of Fremont TV. Thank you for tuning in with us.
If you haven't already, go watch our last episode where we spotlighted clubs here at Fremont and featured some clips of in-person sports practices going on at campus.
There are only a couple of weeks of school left. Can you believe it, Hannah?
No, I can't. Whether you've been virtual or just started in person at Fremont, you have to agree this school year went by crazy fast.
Speaking of the end of the school year, seniors here at Fremont have recently been announcing on social media where they plan on heading off to after they graduate.
That's right. This past weekend, it was National Decision Day for seniors, or basically, it was an official day for seniors to announce worldwide their college decision.
In this week's special episode, and in honor of National Decision Day, ASB gathered a group of seniors here at Fremont to answer some questions about college and break down their overall experience when applying to colleges.
Yep, these seniors gave their fellow juniors and underclassmen some great advice that you can all keep in the back of your heads for when you decide to start applying for college.
Let's take a look at how it went.
Let's go around and introduce. So Lavanya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sounds good. My name is Lavanya Kanan. I am going to Loyola Marymount University in the fall, and I'm going to be majoring in psychology.
Great, Murtaza.
Hi, my name is Murtaza Shiaji, and I will be going into UC Berkeley in the upcoming fall, planning a major in economics.
Great, Varun.
Hello, my name is Varun, and I'm going to UC San Diego for mathematics.
Anushka.
Hi, my name is Anushka. I'm going to UCLA in the fall, and my major is biochemistry.
Katrinelle.
Hi, my name is Katrinelle. I'll be going to UC Davis in the fall for genetics and genomics.
Manan.
Hey everyone, it's Manan. I'm going to UC Berkeley, and I'll be majoring in computer science and the College of Letters and Sciences, and hoping to double major in business.
And Eva.
Hi, my name's Eva, and I'm actually going to UC Merced this fall, and I'm majoring in cognitive science. I'm planning on transferring to another UC in 2 years.
So for our first question, if Lavanya, do you want to answer this? Where should juniors start in terms of looking at colleges they want to apply to? Or again, like how should they start?
I can definitely start with that. So from what I would think about, I think you should figure out whether you're going to take the SAT or ACT. I think it's best to start early before it's too late and prepare during the summer. Then I think you should, like, depending on how you do on the score, see if that helps. I know a lot of us have different experiences with the SAT and ACT, and it's very subjective for standardized testing. So then base your college based on that. So I know I did not do the best on my SAT, and as a result, I decided that I was going to be test optional everywhere. And so I based my colleges on that. And then I would care about your grades and make sure your extracurriculars are very important. And then challenge yourself with classes, but make sure it's not too much that you're going to be stressed out, because this is your high school. You want to have fun, but you also want to work hard. So that's what I would say.
Great, thank you. Murtaza, if you want to answer the next question, when should Firebirds start researching colleges or different opportunities?
Right. So in terms of researching colleges, I wouldn't start doing that until late in your junior year, because oftentimes the colleges you want to go to will be dependent on the field you want to go into. And until you kind of have a good idea of where you want to go into, you're not going to want to like commit to, writing essays or doing anything for any college before then. And I believe that for most people, it really takes like the first 1, 2, 3 years of like high school to really figure out what exactly you want to do, or like what field you want to go in, at least for most people I talk to and most people I know. And you can always, obviously, like Lavanya mentioned, you have to focus on your grades, because your grades are important no matter what field you want to go into. And of course, you want to make sure that you're varied in your extracurriculars, because even if your extracurriculars aren't specifically related to what field you want to go into, they can still be really helpful. And overall, don't start researching until I think probably late junior year, but start thinking about like what type of person you want to show yourself to be to colleges, probably as early as freshman year. If you want to like think about how, like, what you want to, like, say like you're really interested in STEM, if you want to think about what the STEM extracurriculars you're going to be doing, that's also something really good, and that's kind of preparing for college in a front loading kind of manner.
Thank you for your helpful answer. Varun, how can Firebirds start prepping for college their sophomore year or freshman year?
So I would say like freshman year and sophomore year, you should like mainly focus on your grades, because grades are very important. And on like paper, they like are very big on differentiating with students from one another. I would also say like do a bunch of extracurriculars and like just sort of see like what stuff you like to do. Like for example, you could do like a bunch of like STEM extracurriculars, like robotics, or like do like a research program or something, just to see like what you like doing, so you can pick a major.
Great, thank you so much. So Anushka, the next question's for you. What should juniors start preparing, or what should they prepare for college?
So I think one main thing is the summer after junior year, you want to use really wisely. I didn't really do that, so had to cram a lot of things in my fall semester of senior year. So I would say like in the summer, make a list of the colleges that you're thinking of applying to, so you can see exactly which essays you have and how many you have, and you can plan them out. And so I'd say like a lot of people, like a lot of my friends worked on their Common App essay during the summer and they were done with it. So that was a good idea. So I'd say work on your Common App essay, or look at some of the UC personal insight questions and try to answer them. So I'd say, yeah, try to focus on the college list and the essays over summer.
Great answer, Anushka. Caitlyn, do grades actually matter?
I would say that they don't matter if you have a good grade, but if you have a bad grade, then it does matter a lot. So I would say that just focus on doing your best academically, because that's what they're looking for. You want to be good academically, because if you're bad academically, that's gonna be like a smear to your name. But if you're doing well, then it doesn't really matter that much.
Thank you so much. So the next question is from Manan. So do extracurriculars actually matter? And if so, how can students in Firebirds figure out what extracurriculars to do?
Yeah, so I would say extracurriculars 100% matter. Thinking about my personal high school experience, I definitely started in freshman year joining a ton of clubs, during lunchtime, or a lot of other clubs outside. Fremont Club Day is a great way to get exposure to that, or a lot of the recruitment activities that are happening by clubs. And I really think that in my experience, I narrowed down the clubs that I wanted to do or go deeper into to expand my interests. So for example, in robotics and speech and debate, I have leadership positions in both of them. And I was able to do a lot of great things by staying focused. And I think that really helped me figure out what my major was supposed to be as well, or what I was interested in. And that also looks really great on your activities list in your college apps. You have a lot more to write about if you go deeper into an experience. And so I would say, start with breadth and then start narrowing down and go deep into your extracurriculars, so that you can have a very effective, background, and that'll help you write stories as well about them. And most of my college apps were about my extracurriculars. So, that's where your stories and experiences come from.
Thank you, Manan. Ava, how should students study for the SAT or ACT?
Gosh, I'm probably not the best person to answer this question, because I only took my SAT once and I didn't get a good score on it, and I did not submit it to any of my schools. But I'd say definitely start earlier than later, because I don't know, like you need enough time just to like prepare and to get comfortable knowing which tests like you actually want to take. Like I just started like preparing for the SAT and I didn't even consider taking the ACT. And well, I took the SAT, didn't get a great score on it, but didn't have time to take or try another test, mainly because I planned so poorly. Like the ACT, it gives you more time to actually work on certain questions, whereas the SAT, I know it's like kind of, I don't know, I feel like you have probably less time on that, I'm guessing, but yeah. definitely get help if you need it. Like, it's not an easy test to take. For some people it comes naturally, for some people it doesn't. Yeah, like I know there's so many tutors and like ways to get help at Fremont if you need help with your SAT prep. They have classes at Fremont, I think. And I'm sure they get like waivers and stuff if you actually like can't afford it. Stuff like that. I got a private tutor for it, spent like a good amount of money, and it just wasn't the way I should have studied for it. Like, I don't know, just try out different things. Sorry, that was very long, but yeah.
I guess I could add a little bit more there because I took both the ACT and the SAT. I would definitely go and figure out which test is better for you. I noticed in my experience that if you're kind of going into the STEM route, the ACT is a lot easier to get a good score on as compared to the SAT. And in terms of studying, the first round of studying for the SAT, I just did it by myself. But I think that you can do it by yourself, like using Khan Academy, as long as you figure out all the tips and tricks to make your score go up. But as Eva said, there are opportunities on campus that you can. There are different tutoring opportunities, even though I took one of them, but I never got the opportunity to actually use it. My second test was canceled. But I think you can also figure out all of these things on your own. And there are resources that are out there for free.
If you guys took APLAC and APUSH at the same time, like, is that dumb?
No, I don't think it's dumb at all. I did both. I think multiple of us here did that, and people say it's stupid to do it, but I think it's totally doable.
Okay.
Easily doable.
It's doable, but do you want to do it? Like, I took APUSH.
No, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
It depends on like the
Katrina
class.
likes
It
history.
depends on the person.
Yeah,
It's like she enjoys history. She likes learning about
No,
it. If you
like
really
that's
don't
literally
like it,
everything that I love.
Do it honors and APUSH, and you'll have a fun time. If you take APLAC and APUSH, you're gonna be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken APLAC, and you're gonna say that the whole entire year. Like, all my friends did that, and they were just like, maybe I shouldn't have taken.
You just gotta be quick. I mean, maybe I'm just like really quick at writing because I did the entire AP test in like 20 minutes. So I'm just really good, really fast typer. So I guess it wasn't that much
about typing in the end, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is about typing.
It's not about, well, on the AP test it's writing, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start now. So now we're going to go into more of a group discussion where I'll ask general questions and any of the seniors can answer them. So our first question is, how many different types of classes, such as honors or AP or etc., should a Firebird take a year?
I guess I could respond to that. I would say it really depends on the person and kind of what your plans are. I would say that in terms of APs, I enjoyed them, and they can give you some credits, but in reality, they're in a way kind of a scam when you talk about like what they're going to be what's going to be accepted in college, and that's kind of their big spiel. Like, you can take class, like some classes are going to be, you don't need to take them in college. If you want to not have to take extra classes in college, community college classes, like doing like dual enrollment, I think it's called, is probably a lot better for that. But in terms of like AP and honors, I did 4 APs I think last year and like 2 honors, and it was doable. But I don't think I would go much past that. I think that's kind of like an extreme, but it really depends on the person and what you're interested in. I would take AP classes for what you're really interested in, because it is more work.
Yeah, I can add on. I think definitely for me, I'm probably one of the people in this group who've taken on the higher number of APs. Throughout Fremont, I took 9 APs. And so I actually started with my first AP sophomore year, where I did AP chemistry. And then I was also able to do AP physics senior year. And so I definitely think that it was a huge amount of work. And I definitely had to work my butt off to have good grades in all those classes. But also I would just definitely recommend that take the APs for subjects that you think you're interested in, because I think I definitely regret taking 1 or 2 APs in which I wasn't actually that great at the subject, and I had to work very, very hard to just, support my weaknesses rather than my strengths. And I definitely think another piece of advice that along with that is that in high school, focus on your strengths. That if I had known that earlier, then I would have definitely done that instead of trying to be like an average person in a lot of different areas. So yeah.
Wait, does anybody else want to add anything in before I go into the?
I have one small point. Like I know that AP Chem is a really big like AP, and a lot of people like Manan, I think, and Murtaza took it in our sophomore year. And like in school, they tell you to take Chem honors. They're like, oh, you're not going to be able to do AP Chem without Chem honors. I just want to say that that's a lie. That's a scam. That's not true at all. So, and I took a lot of APs in my junior year, along with like AP Chem, and everything was like an overload. So I think it's better to spread your APs out like they did and do AP Chem in sophomore year. Don't be worried about Chem honors, you know. So just prepare well over summer, you'll be fine because Chem honors it's not too useful. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very good.
I would like
Remember that.
to add on. So I took physics honors and then AP physics, and I would say that you do not need to take physics honors. AP physics is because pretty much in like the first like couple weeks of school, you go over pretty much like all the stuff that you need to know, like from prior knowledge, like it's like review. So you can just learn during that time. Plus, there's like summer homework where you have to like read like textbook chapters, and from that you can like pretty much get an idea.
Yeah,
Of what
to add
the-
on, there's also a lot of like online courses that people have taken, like Chem honors online or physics honors online. And I think those are definitely helpful to give a background. And on the point of taking AP chemistry sophomore year, I would say that in my experience, that was a great decision because all of my other classes were lighter workloads. And so I could focus all my time and attention on that one AP class and my other honors class. And really be able to focus rather than overloading myself with way too many APs in junior and senior year.
Next question. What are the different types of college applications?
Okay, I can answer this. So for when applying to college, you can either do like regular decision, which the deadline's usually in like early January, late December, or you could do like early action, which is pretty much you apply like beginning of November. So pretty much what early action is you pretty much just apply early and you sort of get like an increased chance of getting into the college, but you have to like be on top of your workload. There's also early decision, which means that if you apply to the college, but if you get in, you have to go to that college. So there's like a sort of a trade-off with early decision. Like you get a greatly increased chance of getting into the school, but you have to go there if you get in.
When there's also restrictive early action, like Stanford, for example, I know is restrictive early action, right? And you can only apply to Stanford early, but yeah.
Okay, I'd like to add, I think also based off of, early action, one thing to keep in mind is that early action only refers to, early restrictive action, sorry, that only applies to private colleges. So you can actually do early restrictive action for one private university, and then you can do early action for a bunch of public universities. So for example, I did early restrictive action for Stanford, but I was also able to apply to a couple other colleges such as UIUC or Georgia Tech in my early action.
I guess I could talk more about like actual applications, like portals and stuff like that. I did apply to, I used a lot of different applications during the process. And I would say that if you can find just one or two portals to use for all of them, it's a lot easier. So the UC application, for instance, was really simple because it went to all the UCs. You just take your essays and you put your essays in there, and it's a lot of essays to write, but it sends to all of them. And all the details are just on that application. It's really simple, logistically speaking. And then I also did the Common App. And it was actually really nice because you have your like set essay that kind of gets sent to all the schools that are on there, and then you have your smaller essays that you have to do. So after you finish your first application on there, it's a lot easier to do the next ones. I did a few like applications that were like specific to the school, like MIT, and that was annoying, I have to say, because you have to do all of that work for just one school. And then I also applied to 2 international systems. So I applied to the UK, and their system is like really like chill. It's actually pretty nice. They have you write one essay, which is like 500 words long, and it gets sent to 5 universities. That's pretty much it. That's all you have to send. And then I also applied to an Irish university, and they don't have that same system, so you have to actually apply individually to each school. And I applied to one of those schools, and it was just a 600-word essay. It was pretty simple. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Oh my God, please cut that out. I just like blanked. Oh yeah, okay. So I only applied to some UCs and CSUs, and I felt like that was super easy for me because I didn't know this before, but the CSUs, it's not an actual like application. You kind of just fill in your grades and answer a few questions, and there aren't any like supplemental questions or essays that you have to do for them. And the UCs, you only get for you only have to write for like PIQs, is that what it's called?
Personal insight questions.
Yeah, personal insight questions, and they all have to be the same for like every single school. So like all of those essays get sent out to whichever like UCs you're applying to, and you can't like change them for like each school. And like the Common App is mainly just for like out of state and private schools. I didn't use that, so if anyone wants to like kind of talk about that specifically.
I would like to just make a quick note about CSUs. So there's this is like a little fun fact, but a lot of the CSUs on their websites, they'll tell you like what are the GPA requirements for each major. So if you go look for them, like I know like San Jose State has it like displayed somewhere, but you can like sort of see like, oh, for computer science, I need a 4.25 weighted GPA to get that major. And for animation, I need a 4.0 weighted GPA, which is actually very high for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's called an eligibility index, and you can find them for most schools. And I think if you like, at least for us, like since we live next to San Jose State, you also get like more points like in your favor on that index because they like favor people who like live next to their schools, or if you're like a first generation student and stuff like that, you just get like more points on that index.
Is there anything specifically we want to talk about in Common App? Because I did primarily Common App because I was looking at just private schools, so I felt that was better for me. I could state that the main thing that you have is this main essay, which is called the personal statement. I think you can write about anything, in my opinion. I wrote primarily about one of my extracurricular experiences that was one of my most important things, which was my Gold Award, which was a video to spread awareness of invisible disabilities. But I've heard of many people ranging from doing woodworking to doing just talking about their summer program in a science lab. It's all very subjective. So I think whatever you think is your cup of tea and what is you want to show to your school is what you should do for your Common App.
I can also add on, I think one of the huge things about a lot of these supplementary essays and the Common App essay itself is they should be more story-like. And what that means is you also want to write in the first person form, I, because you want to really emphasize yourself. And so going into writing this essay, you want to think about yourself and you in a certain situation, explaining maybe your thoughts or feelings or your interaction with somebody else, how you help somebody else, and, you know, just overall paint a story and a picture of what you want to show rather than saying, I did this, I did that. You know, those are the words that make it that so that the college essay or admissions counselor does not want to read your application and they skim over certain things. But if you're able to paint a story which, you know, has multiple parts to it, shows emotions and feelings, and you're able to really concisely present it, it's super helpful. And another thing that I would also recommend is start big and then cut down, or also just kind of start writing. Personally, for me, I wrote a very lengthy version for a lot of my essays, and then I cut it down by, you know, literally going through each sentence. And I think at this level, you cannot BS your college essays, okay? This is something that you should really put your time into.
I want to make a brief point there because when I was writing especially my personal statement, I would be like really nice, like flowery and all those sorts of things. Like make sure that your actual points come through and there's just a little bit of flower around it, because like there's like details like the water was dripping down. Like they don't care about the water dripping down your glass. They don't care about that. Just be flowery enough, but not so flowery that it kind of takes over your essay. Like get to the point.
Great, thank you so much for all of that valuable information. So moving on to the last question, what are the different types of colleges?
So there, Caitlyn talked about international schools a bit. I don't know that much about them, so I'm just going to talk about the main two ones that people usually apply to, which are the public schools, public in-state schools, and the private/out-of-state schools. So the main difference here is that people usually prefer public schools in state because public schools in state tend to have a much higher acceptance rate for those people in state, and they're also much more likely to give you financial aid, which for a lot of families, especially if you're low income, can be extremely helpful. That being said, a lot of people, like Lavanya mentioned, have other like kind of qualifications about as to what they want in a college. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply to out of state or private schools. In fact, I encourage you to do that, especially for some specific fields, which they can be really good for. So going on to like private and out of state schools, if there is a public out of state schools tend to be very hard to get into if you are an out-of-state student because they tend to prefer in-state students a lot. That's kind of just to incentivize like the federal government giving them subsidies and all that. But essentially, if you want to apply, then you have your work cut out for you. I believe like one example that I have in mind, UT Austin is extremely selective. I think they only accept 10% of their students from out of state, 90% in-state. So that's just kind of a metric to see how much it's really competitive. As for private schools, private out-of-state schools tend to be, or private schools and private out-of-state schools tend to be much more liberal when giving financial aid, as well as having their acceptance rates be from from like out-of-state and stuff, because they like to get their numbers, their diversity quotas up. So that's actually, if you're looking to apply to colleges that aren't as selective, if you're looking at safeties, you might want to consider private schools out of state or just generally as well, because they tend to have much higher acceptance rates for those out of state as compared to public. So yeah, you want a good balance of colleges depending on your field, but you also want to make sure that you aren't stretching yourself too thin. I'm sure we all know people who've applied to a significant amount of hard colleges or like private or public out-of-state colleges, which they will probably not get into, and it's a waste of money at that point. But they do it anyway, and it's really disappointing if you put your hopes on that. So make sure you do it correctly. Have a good balance.
Sorry, kind of like adding on to that, it might be a little unrelated, but just like when you're applying to colleges, when you're applying to colleges, make sure you apply to like a bunch, even if you think you're not going to get in. Like I made the mistake of kind of looking at like tuition and stuff like before for like private and out of state schools, and I was kind of just like scared of like the price tag, and I was like, oh, I can't pay that, like I'm not going to apply there. But then later on I was like, oh wait, maybe I should have applied to more schools, just like to open up like your options and everything. And so many schools, especially a lot of out of state schools, they give you a lot of financial aid, and same with a lot of private schools, they give you a lot of financial aid. I mean, I guess depending on your situation, but most likely they are willing to offer some sort of financial aid. Also, oh yeah, like don't regret not applying to a school because you don't think you're going to get in. Like if you really want to apply there and maybe you think you're not going to get in, just do it. Like you're never going to get the chance to do this again unless you, I guess, like go the community college route or decide to transfer. Like just apply to schools you want to apply to, and like yeah.
I kind of talked about international schools a little earlier, but since I kind of applied and I went down that entire route. Actually, I was almost going to commit to an international school. So I guess I can talk a little bit about that. So as I said, I kind of looked down the UK system and the Irish system. The first thing I have to say, especially when you're applying, is that they really care about APs. So you need to have a lot of AP scores and a lot of good AP scores. I made that mistake, and I was only able to apply to one because I was missing one of the APs that it was required. But so they normally ask for at least, especially the good ones, they ask for like at least 3 or more AP tests with a 5. Sometimes they ask for specific APs. And then they also ask for like other test scores, and then they have their application thing. And they don't really ask about all these they don't care about your holistic things. They just in general care about what you do for your major, for instance. And a lot of these colleges, what they do is they have a major or a course, and you go in there and it's more inflexible. So it's not like here where you have like your general education requirements and you can switch and you can flip flop and you can come in undecided and stuff like that. You go and you apply for, let's say, a biology major and you go and you complete your complete degree in biology. So there's no flexibility really there. And on top of that, that can be good for some people and not so good for some people. If you do research, you can find some degrees that you can complete in 3 years. Sometimes they have an additional 4th year for doing like research abroad or study abroad or doing some sort of like work in the field, like internships for an entire year. And like it's kind of similar in Ireland, so I just kind of lumping them together. It's different in those ways, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of it.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to go, Manon?
Oh yeah, so I just wanted to make something very clear about the differences in your college list. There's something called a safety school, a target school, and a reach school. So the way, a lot of, guidance counselors at Fremont will use these terms, but what it truly means is how will your GPA and your extracurriculars and that combination be able to fit under the threshold of an average student who is admitted to that university. So a lot of colleges are reach schools in terms of a lot of the prestigious universities because you need a very high score for your ACT or SAT, or you need to have a very high GPA, often 3.9, 4.0. So a lot of those things are things to also look out for when building your college list, and really separating those categories and applying to a few in each.
Just to add on to what Katrina was talking about, I actually kind of researched international schools as well, like schools in Canada and in the UK. And you definitely, if you want to consider international schools, definitely start earlier than later, preferably like by your sophomore year, because they have like kind of what Katrina was saying, like a specific requirement of kind of like the classes you have to take. I know most of them like require that you take 4 or more APs like before the end of your junior year. And they mostly focus on your grades and not as much as like your essays and stuff. And it's like, yeah. And you also have to like figure out how you're getting like a student visa and all that stuff. And it just like takes a long time. And you have to take like international tests for some schools. So yeah, it takes a while. If you're considering doing that, definitely like plan way far in advance.
I wanted to add on to that. I kind of blanked a little earlier because there's so many details surrounding international schools. They do have, sometimes you have to take tests, but like those are for like the really, really top-notch schools, like the really prestigious schools, like Oxford, for instance. You have to take an admissions test, which if you really want to go to those like schools, you probably have to start studying like a year in advance, like all the other kids who apply, because they're like really hard. But there are also tons of other options at varying price points. So yeah. And in terms of like APs, yeah, you need to have those APs. Like luckily for me, I had like APs in my bag already, so I didn't really need to worry about that. But that's why, like for me, why I would say APs are important is for that. Especially if you're considering international schools, like they care about that a lot.
Thank you. Due to time reasons, I think we might skip the discussion. But I would say maybe we can give you guys a few minutes, but what is one sentence or one key advice, kind of anything that you want to express to our underclassmen, firebirds, juniors, sophomores, or freshmen?
I can start over there. I think the main thing you need to do is find what you're passionate about and stick with that. Because if you find what you're passionate about, your high school journey will be a lot more fun and you're going to enjoy every single experience. And then make sure to just enjoy your life outside of college and just like the schoolwork. Like go to the football game, scream Fremont, do what you want to do. Don't feel like you have to be that academic pressure that has to be there or the college pressure.
I can go right after because what I have to say is very similar to what Alania was saying. Yeah, in the end, what's really important is finding out what you want to do. All of that sort of, college pressure, that's going to come. But if you know what you want to do and you focus on that and you build up all of that kind of like foundation in that area that you really like, I don't think you're gonna have that much of an issue when it comes to college. In fact, I think you'll have a leg up because you already know what you want to do. And in terms of academics, I would just focus on academics, but not necessarily on the grades. Just focus on doing the best that you can do. And maybe it's going to be a little less stressful. Just focus on what you like to do in the end.
I can go next. I think my biggest piece of advice is to focus on your strengths and really work hard for that. Because I definitely think that if you take advantage of these opportunities and make the best at clubs, you'll be able to be really successful in the future. And then also, please have a life. You know, you need to find time to relax. You have to hang out with your friends. You need to find time because it's now or never. And if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it in your high school experience. So do it.
I like.
I was just gonna say my one piece of advice is just like do all of your homework. Like it'll help you. It'll help you in the long run. Like it doesn't usually take that long for most classes, and yeah, it just helps you get a better grade.
That advice is really ironic coming from Varun, especially since he like procrastinates daily. But I also do that. So I just want to say that don't take like these 4 years for granted because they go by like really, really fast. It's like a cliche to say that, but it's actually very true. You don't realize how fast it goes by. So don't procrastinate, you know, like even not just homework, but like say you want to like pursue a hobby or something like that. Don't procrastinate that to like a month from now or something because you never know when you'll have to go to college, you know. So I'd say like, yeah, focus, really live every day like how you would want to, that like to the highest potential. That's all.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I just say like plan ahead, like, and I don't know, there's no harm in just like wanting to know more about like the college process, about how you can do better in high school, about everything. I don't know. And obviously like have a social life, but be able to like manage that with your academics as well. Just like have a nice balance and make sure it's like comfortable for you.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to answer all these questions and give your advice because we know it's very valuable. And on behalf of all the Firebirds, congratulations. We're so happy for you guys and your decisions, and go class of 2021.
Wow, that was so insightful. Thank you to all the seniors who helped make that senior panel possible.
Yeah, I learned so much. I'm definitely going to use their great advice for the future when I start applying to colleges. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us today on this episode of Fremont TV.
Whether you're back in school or still virtual, we thank you for joining us here.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Firebird Felipe for more school updates.
And seniors, go follow FHS Grad Plans to see seniors post about their college decisions.
And with that, Fremont,
you know.